Yes.
Even is to see. Great to hear. One question. I'm not sure how we can proceed, but about that your draft. Do you think we can somehow finish?
Yeah, so when Kathleen comes back,
Yeah.
we can ask her because
If nobody is against, we can just push to
push
work
it
with
forward. Yeah. Yep. And then for this, we're going to do another last call
here. Yes, yes,
for the
yes.
rolling.
Maybe
Oh,
today.
no, for the court. Yeah,
Maybe
so I
today.
can do that today because you said the draft is out.
I will just follow your leadership. That's easier.
Okay.
Would you like to use your computer or would you like
No,
mine?
I don't have, it's a
Okay.
new computer,
Okay.
so different dongles.
I just show up and
Yeah.
you talk. Thank you.
All right. Can I lobby to have, let's see, so Dave, you're going to be a note taker or you're going to jabber? Roman, will you be a note taker? Okay. Thank you. Is there anybody else who can help be a note taker? Or Roman, we will rely on you. We're putting all our faith in you, Roman. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and get started. So for those, this is the MILE working group, and I'm not going to go through, next slide, please. Just keep in mind the note well. I'm not going to go through it. I think most of you have been here before. So next slide, please. Okay, so on the agenda today, we'll do a quick status update, and then Dave or Stephen, you'll present the updates to the ROLI, and then who'll present the guidance draft? Okay, and then we'll close with the last order of business. Okay, so with that, we have finished the IODEF drafts. We are currently have 2 working drafts in order, and hopefully we can do another last call, jumping ahead for the ROLI one. Speaking quickly on the XMPP, not as the chair, I still, other than Chris's feedback, haven't gotten anything. So when Kathleen comes back, we'll ask, because it's been on last call. So those are the 2 remaining transport drafts. There's one more draft, I think, on the guideline, right? Because the other one has RFC'd, the application implementation. So we basically have 3 things, hopefully in the home stretch for MILE, maybe? Yeah. And so with that, let's go ahead and do the update. So should we, should we do the milestones real quick? Yeah. I think I kind of covered this real quick. So we had targeted to do the working last call for the guidance and the ROLI, and I think we did for both, but we were expecting more feedback and an update for the ROLI, as well as the guidance, which we now are going to get updates for. I have not gotten any feedback for the XMPP, so I don't know if that's good or bad. And then we're targeting to do another working group last call for the CSERT draft in, I guess, the next 6 months, right? By the IETF. I mean, if we can get that sooner, that would be great. But those are the current targets. So I think we're on target for our milestones, for these current milestones right now. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and have Stephen do slides. Okay.
Is the camera box here?
Yep. Make sure you stay on the pink.
There's no tape.
Red. There's no box.
I do not have a box. I will just kind of stand here.
It says to remind you to be within the pink box.
I'm in trouble because there's no pink box. The camera can see me though. I don't think there's nobody on there anyway, so the recording. But okay, so for those who do not know me, I'm Stephen Banghart from NIST, and I'm going to present some updates on ROLI. So next slide, please. So this is a brief overview of the changes that we made since the last version that we presented at the last IETF meeting. There have been no new major changes. The changes that we made were the ones that were decided on at MILE in Korea. So we implemented those changes that were decided on. We made a few minor fixes throughout the document, and those changes altogether constitute the 06 version. So we're just going to go ahead and go through really quick, talk about the changes, try and figure out what all changed so we can pin down all of that. So the first major change, it'll be better if I just go through the slides. Can you do next slide, please? So the first change was adding the ROLI property element. This was issue number 51 on the GitHub for anyone who's following along there. And again, this was decided on at the last IETF. We added a new element to the ROLI schema and defined it in the document called ROLI property. Properties are registered in an IANA table that we have established in the main document, and extension documents may register new properties into this table. So every time you want to add new properties, it does mean you have to publish a new document that has those properties registered in the IANA table. These properties are for arbitrary exposure of information that's inside of the content. For example, if you have an IODEF document and you want to be able to expose the ID of that IODEF document so that it's easier to search, so that somebody doesn't have to download the entire IODEF document in order to get the ID, the person, the publisher of that entry may do ROLI property and expose the IODEF ID in that property. So that is the purpose of the property element, in order to expose arbitrary data for better identification and categorization. This is all explained more in the document as well. If anyone has any more questions there. Next slide, please. The second change that we made that was agreed on in Korea was the standardization of the URL template for service and category documents. We decided that there is this template here, the host port ROLI service document and ROLI category document. This is a requirement in the draft such that dereferencing this URL results in the retrieval of the service document or the category documents respectively. This does not mean that the server has to store the documents in these locations. It doesn't mean that actually has to be the file path, if you will. It means that dereferencing this URL results in that document being sent back. So you're free to redirect that however you will, as long as it does return the service or category document. And we made this change as discussed in Korea because it allows for discovery of ROLI repositories and of these service documents in a standardized way. Next slide, please. After a brief poll at Korea and the AD's approval, we switched ROLI to standards track. There were 3 groups indicating support for implementation, so it was experimental. It is now standards. Next slide, please. The rest of the changes were fixes and updates to the document in order to make everything as consistent and as clear as possible. We went through and made sure that the references were categorized by normative and informative categories, as well as making sure they were accurate. And we also ran our XML examples through validation and went through them by hand as well to make sure that all the examples were correct as well after some of the changes that we made. Next slide, please. I should mention as well that we made a number of grammar and phrasing changes throughout the document. No requirement changes, no normative changes. It was just clarity changes throughout the document to make sure everything was as clear as possible. So that was the summary of changes that we made in ROLI. There was no changes new beyond what we already decided in Korea. So with that being said, all of the major work, as far as we believe, is done on ROLI. We believe that this document is content complete. All the major work is complete. ROLI was in working group last call a long time ago. It has gone through several major revisions since then. We believe that ROLI is ready for working group last call to be restarted in order to get review on the new major revisions of the document. So for my myself and Dave, the primary co-authors at the moment. We believe that Working Group Last Call is the next step for Rolly. Obviously, it's a discussion to have here in the working group. But next slide. The current extensions that are out there is the CSERT draft in this working group and the software descriptor draft in SACM. Those extensions still need review from people that are knowledgeable in those particular areas, especially with the inclusion of the new Rolly property element. Subject matter experts can provide feedback as to which properties are particularly valuable to register for exposure. So if you are an expert in any kind of software descriptor format, such as SWID, or if you're an expert in IODEF or any other incident indicator formats, then your feedback would be greatly appreciated on these extension documents. We're also beginning the process of planning out additional extension documents. Where those will be, I'm not sure, but we're looking at writing an extension draft for checklists as well as one for vulnerabilities. And definitely very, very interested in that. And that is something that needs to get done. So if you're interested in that, you can contact the authors. We'll be happy to help you write those extension documents in order to plan out what you need to do. Go ahead.
Adam Montville, CIS. We already have checklists kind of almost ready to submit.
Okay.
And we'll probably end up working on vulnerabilities also.
Okay, awesome. That's great news. So that's really good to hear. If there are other things that you are interested in creating, more information types for Rolly that are relevant to your use cases, you can either write the extension yourself, or if you contact the authors, we'll be happy to give you a couple of pointers. You can also reference the existing extension documents in order to get a template for some examples of how to write a Rolly extension document. So the more well-formatted extensions that are out there, the more information types Rolly can cover, and the better it is for everybody. So please feel free to do that, and we encourage you to do that. I don't think there's another, next slide. I don't know if there's another one. That was it. That's it. Okay, so I'm not sure how we're doing on time, but I don't have anything else to talk about. I'd like to open the floor to questions and comments. I'm sure we have a little bit of time to talk about that.
Thank you for the presentation. I just would like to ask one question regarding the location of the service document. I was not able to attend the SOL meeting, so I was not sure. But if I understood correctly, normally the location of the service document could be described in the header field of the HTML. Is that correct?
You're asking if the service document location is described in the HTML?
Header part of the HTML sometime. Is that correct? So in this case, the question is, if the location contradicts with your location, how shall we resolve? Maybe we should describe that in the document.
Right, that would be a good addition to clarify. As far as the requirements in the document stand now, that location of the service document can redirect to that other location. The only requirement is that particular URL, when you send a RESTful GET request to that URL, it can redirect as long as it resolves the service document. I don't know if that answered your question, Dave.
Dave Waltermeyer. So I think we're talking about two different paths of discovery. And they're both talked about in the document. The first that Taki was talking about was if in a homepage, for an organization, they include a link element in the HTML head, that link could actually point to where the Rolly service is, and that's certainly one way of actually identifying a Rolly service. The other way is the other way that we've introduced through the URL template as a way to identify a Rolly service. We believe that both are useful. Having the ability to use the URL template means that all you have to know is the server that is providing the Rolly service, and you can then discover all of the collections of information that are available given how you're authenticated and authorized on that server. And that's actually extremely valuable in our opinion to be able to do that without having to interact with any other services. One usage example could be using a service record to point to the Rolly service. You can look it up in DNS, go straight to it, start to enumerate the collections, and you're off and running. So that's something that we also wanted to be able to support.
Right. You're free to use any number of discovery mechanisms. We just required one such that there's always a mandatory option in order for discovery to happen.
Thank you for the clarification.
Uh-huh.
So if the location pointed by your scheme and pointed by the header field of HTML is not the same, which one should we trust? Maybe we have to write down about it.
So if they contradict, I mean, I would follow the requirements of the Rolly document and say that the one that resolves from the URL template is the normative service document. Uh-huh. Okay. Any other general questions, Rolly, comments on anything? Happy to talk about it. Okay. So on the topic of last call, turn that to the chairs.
Yeah, so given that there were significant changes, I think it would be worth it. So question for the group, who has read the latest draft? Halfway. Okay, so maybe what I'll do, not maybe, what we'll do is I'll send out another email to the group to get reviews. Can I get at least a couple people to commit to reviewing the draft? Adam and Roman? Okay. He's hiding there. There you go. Okay. So Roman, if you wouldn't mind putting it in a minute so I don't forget to solicit feedback. I got your name. Okay, so is it appropriate to just put a deadline so that I can, yeah. So, yeah. So can we do a 30-day? Is that plenty of time? Okay, so we'll do a 30-day last call, and then depending on the feedback, I'll either do the shepherd and move it forward or request for more updates.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks.
All right, thanks.
Wait, did you want to provide anything? And I didn't know if you had talked about the CSERT.
So we have not published an update to the CSERT document since
It's still
Korea.
there?
So
Okay.
it's still version 0.0.
Okay.
We're still working on it. And I am confident that we will have a 0.1, perhaps an 0.2, depending on how fast we kind of iterate the changes. Regardless, we'll have an update for the next IETF.
Okay.
Have a presentation then to talk about the changes. The document is fairly fleshed out. There definitely needs to be a couple passes of content and polish that we'd like to see done on it before it gets put. But at that point, then we could talk about adoption.
About the updates and
Adoption, yeah.
and
Dave?
This is Dave Waltermeyer. Most of the updates are like making sure that things are in sync with the core Rolly now, and because we've made some changes there. The examples probably need a little bit of work to be updated. Some minor things like that. So there's not a lot of work to do there, but
Okay.
a lot of consistency checking.
But it needs to align with the updated Rolly
Right.
draft.
Right, and the one of the big things I'd like to see is that if there's anybody here who is very familiar with the properties and usage of IODEF, just an email dialogue with you would be awesome so that I can identify some of the properties. It doesn't have to be long, it can be one email. Okay. We'll keep piling things on Roman. That sounds like a plan to me. Okay, I'm not going to email Roman. I will call Roman. That's on the recording now, so you're in trouble.
Well,
All right.
he is taking the notes, so
It's
just
true.
remember.
The recording's separate though. He can't edit the recording. We're safe there. Okay. Any other questions on CSERT, Rolly? Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Stephen. Okay, so next up, Mio-san, on the IODEF guidance.
Hello, I'm Mio Suzuki. Now I will present the status of guidance draft. Next slide. The guidance draft aims to provide a guideline for IODEF implementation. For example, about representation of common security indicators and about use cases. And I will present updates from the previous draft and then show to-do list. Next slide.
Yeah.
It's just here's minor update from the previous version, and we checked and modified examples in appendix query. For example, moving examples of the indicator predicate logic to appendix section, and also we modified editorial issues. For example, modify section titles and references. Next slide. Now, we believe we are ready for the working group last call. Meanwhile, small and reviews are much appreciated. That's all. Any comments?
So it doesn't sound like you made significant changes to the draft. Okay, so could I have a show of hands of how many have read the latest? Oh. How many read the previous one? One. Okay. What's that? Two. Okay. So I think we should do another last call, even though there were minor ones. So can I get a couple of volunteers to do a review? Why can't you, Adam? Thank you, Roman. And Chris. Okay, I'd like to have one more if possible. No one?
For grammar, for anything?
Okay, thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll do another working group last call, and since it's the same three, I'll keep it to 30 days. How's that? Roman, Chris? Yeah?
That sounds good. 30 days.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mio.
Thank you.
Wow, this is short and quick. So can you put the agenda or the milestones again? Okay, so basically we are ready to do the last call for both the guidance draft and the ROLI. We had put out a call for the XMPP draft, but we haven't gotten any other than Chris, you reviewed it and found it okay. I haven't changed the draft. So Kathleen, this is a question for the AD. Given that we've not had any feedback, how do we proceed on the XMPP draft? We've received Chris, and there was somebody else. I can't remember who else.
And that was through the whole working group call. So
Yep.
was it just done enough, or have you told me you don't have to read it?
I think it was just the one.
Anyone on the plan to review it? And we have,
Rolling?
No, this is XMPP grid.
we actually have implementations of, but it's really,
Yes.
so I'm, I don't want to halt it because they're using it, right? And the other ones aren't necessarily in use, so. I could do an extended IETF last call
Okay.
and see if we get wider community input on that and ask on SAG. I'd like to see more reviews on it. I'm sorry, shouldn't be talking them down.
So Kathleen Moriarty, I'd like to get more reviews on it. I thought we would have had more reviews from across the area. So I guess we could do one of two things. I could do an extended IETF last call, or we could do another working group last call where we reach out to SAG. I guess there's only one reviewer. We don't know if there'll be significant changes requested.
Right.
How many implementations, separate implementations are there?
There's quite a few
Separate implementations.
separate implementations.
'Cause I know you had the code base that's used by
Yeah,
more
so
than 10
There's one
companies.
server, but there's over 20 clients. So it's also
Okay.
being discussed in the Oasis Sticks and Taxi. I don't know if you want to do a
Use it.
cross, because we were,
I mean, anyone can participate in the IETF, so if they
Okay.
want to just get on a mailing list and provide feedback, they can do that.
so I could ask Richard.
We could do a formal liaison to them too, if you'd
Okay.
like. So then if we're going to do that, then let's do a working group last call. And then we'll do an IETF.
Can you do that? Since it's my draft. Okay.
And from SACM, I thought there was interest too, to review this and use it. But we had no one from them during last call.
We can ask, we can
All right, let's
ask
do
Hank.
Let's do another one. So
Okay.
this means we're hopefully going to wrap up
Okay.
very soon with everything. That would be great. All right, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, we're going to wait for the update to the CSERT draft, and I think that's our last item for this group. Woohoo. All right. Are there any other topics, issues that we want to discuss? Going once, going twice. Okay, don't forget, and I apologize, I was late in passing the blue sheets. Make sure you sign the blue sheets. Other than that, I think we're done. We'll meet back in Prague. Thanks, everyone. I'm giving you time back so all of you can review the drafts. I like that. Thank you, Tanya.
Could you take care of the SAG?
Yeah, I will take care of that.
Okay, thank you. So I will just send a report to SAG, then you
Yeah.
will take care of the discussion, what report.
So I won't be here inside. Will you also, you won't be here inside?
No.
So I'll just write the report
Thank you.
and I'll email it to SAG. That's not a problem.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So to understand my understanding, so what you want me to do is asking the review to
So-
the SAG or
Um,
to IETF.
So I'll do all of the working group last calls,
Mhm.
except for the
Yes,
XMPP group,
yes,
because
yes.
that's my draft.
Yes.
So if you can just do another last call for it.
Yeah.
And then I will forward it to the Oasis group and ask Richard Struess if we can get broader review there.
It's easy to do a last call for mile, but should
Oh, thanks. Did everybody sign the blue sheet?
Mhm.
All right, thanks.
but I wonder whether I should ask SAG or IET or because you and Catherine are discussing whether we should ask to the SAG people. Maybe I just send a
I think we should just do it in Mile. And then I'm going to make the people in SACM, because there's one person in SACM who's implemented XMPP grid,
that's great.
right?
Yeah, yes.
So I should ask him to provide the feedback. And then there's another one in the Sticks and Taxi group that has done it. So I should ask him to provide feedback. So
Okay,
just
that's
do
great.
it that way and I'll forward it to them. Thank you.
Thank you. And also, I'm thinking to close the my working group, but is it okay, or would you like to continue?
No.
Yeah, we can close it.
We can close it.
It's
There's no
much
more
better.
work to be done.
Yeah, we don't have to
right?
make it.
Yeah,
Yeah, we want to make it simple.
yes. Why keep it open?
No,
No,
way.
no,
Thank you.
no, thank you. So are you flying back to Japan?
Yes, I have to go back tomorrow.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, because this is the end of the fiscal year, we cannot stay over the fiscal year. By the end of the March 31st, we have to finish all the budget settlement procedure. That's
Okay.
the rule of my
But
company.
hopefully you can come to Prague
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
I'm happy
and
to come.
Singapore.
Sure. My brothers live in Singapore.
I like Singapore.
Yeah, me too. Really nice.
It's nice.
Thank you very much for your kind navigation and leadership.
Oh.
That was perfect.
Thank you. I feel bad because I feel like you do all the work.
Your help was necessary.
Chris, Kit Kats. Do you like the green tea and the other exotic flavors?
They didn't go over as well as I would like.
Okay, because I found them in my Chinese store. So if you wanted some, let me know.
Roman found that there's no beach flavors. But only a couple flavors.
Yeah, there was like a strawberry and the green. The green tea seems to be popular.
That's the go back. He was like, "You're good." Yeah, those didn't go over well.
No, the wasabi.